Okay, so this is gonna be something a little different. Wilds is out and Wilds is new, and the making videos is pretty good right now. So I did want to make some quicker stuff that was a little bit easier to put out, because I have a bunch of projects that are running a little long in the tooth because they're all kind of clashing against one another. So I wanted to try and make something a little bit quicker while still being substantive. What I want to talk about is focus mode and kind of the wound closing system, but almost a little bit more just focus mode, and why I think the system has potential, and why I kind of hope that it doesn't get entirely trashed, just reworked in the future. I think the way Wilds is and how it's hard-coded means that it's probably going to maintain some of its problems permanently for the extent of this runtime of the game. But in the future, if they ever wanted to bring focus back, I think there's some stuff they could do with it and some strengths to the system that make it so I don't want it to just be thrown out. Mainly, what I really like about focus mode, which I'll try to demonstrate, and I picked the Dosha Gumas purposefully because I think they're particularly good at it, is what it allows for the kits of the monsters. Mainly, I think it gives the monsters a lot more kinetic movement, a lot more ability to reposition, a lot of potential for follow-ups and combos, some of which is capitalized on in base game Wilds. But I'm really hoping that the expansion really kind of fleshes out the combos of some of these monsters a lot more, so that they can even more properly capitalize on what focus mode allows for. The core strength here is really just kind of the responsiveness and the snappiness, and the fact that turning and repositioning and getting back to the monsters and what they're doing is very simple due to the fact that you have the camera control. So I picked Dosha because his moves have a lot of that follow-through, a lot of that kineticness. So I feel like they balanced him particularly well for focus, and I also think they balanced him kind of well for multiplayer. There's a couple of monsters like Dosha where there's just a lot of movement to the moves and a lot of follow-through, which I think makes pretty good for dealing with hunters and multiplayers. You can kind of just like catch a hunter unaware if they're not really anticipating that a hit is going to be coming for them. So I'm purposefully playing with it toggled off at the moment to just kind of more properly show off what I'm talking about. When Dosha does his attacks that have a lot of movement, that have a lot of carry through, that kind of just blow through my guard or through my roll, it's a little tough to kind of keep up with him. Definitely not impossible. But the ability to kind of get back on track with what he's doing as he's moving around and flipping around, it's a little tougher. But not impossible. Then, if I pull into focus, which we'll have to wait for him to do something again after I just flinched him out of that, he can still get all of his kinetics and all of his movements, and it's just a lot, you know. Hang on, all right, we're gonna have to pick a different destination so he can show me properly what I want him to do. That's gonna be the issue with making a video like this. I thought this would be kind of interesting just as it works on my kind of like improv, free flow speaking skills, which the live streams do a good amount of work to help me with. But I figured kind of trying to speak on a concise subject and illustrate the points of it and get the gameplay to showcase what I'm talking about. I feel like this is just a neat little exercise for me. Alright, so I just knocked him down again. That's going to be another thing with the focus mode and the wound closers. I guess we can talk about a little bit while I wait for him to get back on his feet. Is the flinch ability and the chain knocks that you can get off of these moves. So if I can just get you to do what I want, please. All right. Now, preferably I don't get hit when you do this next one. I want to do your big follow-through moves. And I want to not get hit by them. Thank you very much. I hope this is in some way entertaining for you watching while I try to do this. Very new to this. Right, okay, so he does that charge through, and I'm just right back on top of him. Keeping pace. Oh, don't leave again, you moron. You just did what I wanted you to do, and now you're leaving already. You want energy. All right, fine. Oh, we're going to have to wait around for you to do this, aren't we? Okay. Thankfully, you can't wound close flinch him out of this, so he can actually get his powers back. That's pretty good. Otherwise, you can just bully him out of this with wound closers forever. Gets his powers back. All right, hit me with some stuff. Oh, now he's mad at me. And there's a chicken. All right. Come on. Right, so he goes for the big follow-through, and I'm right back on top of him. And what I think this allows for is a really cool dance with the monster, where they can do a lot of movement, they can do a little complex stuff, they can kind of compensate for the fact that they're dealing with multiple hunters at a time, with a lot of follow-through and a lot of kineticism, and just a lot of energy and motion to the move kits. But I have the ability to kind of dance with that a lot more easily. So I feel like, kind of on a face value, the kits of the monsters play around focus mode rather well. Some more so than others. I'm not going to say they're all perfect. I'd really have to kind of micro-analyze every single kit, but I was fighting Dosha deliberately as I find him to be a really good training dummy for this. And I was just noticing, as I was running with focus, that I was really enjoying the dance of fighting with them because of focus mode. Got a leg break there. Might go after this Caimatries, because he's another one who's pretty fun to spar with. Also, he's tempered. Right now, they're kind of just hogging my video right now. So you know what, chicken? You can be in the video later. Wait your turn. It is not your turn to be in the video. So this is a reason I'm kind of hoping that focus doesn't get completely trashed. Because I think this moveset mentality, it's good for multiplayer just because of the space that the monsters can cover now. At the same time, they compensate for it pretty well with what the hunter can do. And I figure we're going to be waiting a good bit for the expansion, right? But if Sunbreak was any indication for what these expansions are capable of, is they can really up the speed and the tempo and the combo pattern and progression for even some of the basic monsters. Like, if you're playing Rise, base game Royal Ludroth and Sunbreak Royal Ludroth are fairly different monsters. He's one that comes to mind a lot as I fought the two back-to-back for a video. And the Sunbreak Royal Ludroth has a combo pattern that if you're kind of underestimating him because, you know, it's Royal Ludroth, he's not even particularly difficult, he can kind of catch you. So I'm very interested now that the expansions seem to really kind of flush out and delve more into the combo patterns of the monsters, including the lower level ones. What we might see focus mode be able to give to the monsters, because I already feel like their kits do a pretty good job of playing around with the strengths of the system. I find it very, very fun when a monster has a lot of motion to him and then forces you to kind of play his game. Alright, we're gonna have to get Rathalos out of the video. I might want to save you for another video because I want to talk about you later. So I'm a big fan of this system kind of at its face value, right? It's sometimes the team really kind of struggles with balancing the monsters for a particular gimmick. I feel like that was a thing that they struggled with the wire bugs especially, is having it so that the monsters could compensate properly for the fact that there was wire fall in the game. And there was the zipping around and the moves with the, like the reposition moves with the wire bugs in the game. So the hunters were really fast, and the monsters kind of weren't. I feel like in Wilds, kind of at the face value, the monsters have a lot more tools to deal with the repositioning abilities that Focus Mode gives, and it makes the dance feel very, very fast, very hectic, very spastic, very violent, very aggressive, both on the hunter's part and both on the monster's part, and I tend to very much enjoy how this dance feels. It's a lot of the stuff that's around this that, you know, if you're really trying to min-max for the system and figure out how it works and take the biggest advantage of it, as people will do, there's nothing particularly wrong with that. People will try to be optimal. Then you kind of run into problems, and where, you know, obviously you're always going to have strong options that are going to be able to breeze through monsters in these games. But the wound closers, especially, I feel like run some risk of trivializing a lot of bosses in this game. That's a sentiment that a lot of people have. I haven't even been going super, super hard for it, but you'll watch when I'm doing this video and just going through that fight, that even kind of deliberately or not, the wound closers can kind of just trivialize a few oh, the chicken's back. You can be in the video in a minute. The bear's almost dead. All right, come on. So see if I can get a good angle at him so I can get an interruption. Yeah, see, so he's going for a follow-through right there. And I basically just steal it away from him right at that moment. Another wound pops up on the arm. He's going to go for the second slam. Wasn't able to get it on that one. Still takes some skill to get this done. It's not completely brain dead. I can just kind of stick to his arm. He's going for your slams over and over again. All right. It'll be easier for me to point out how OP this system was if I was good at the video game. Right in the skull. Alright, he's dead. Alright, we're gonna have to go find something else to fight. Alright, where'd the chicken go? Lab partner number 1 is dead. Lab partner number 2 is gonna be coming up in a second. Alright, no more bear. Now we need a chicken. And I will continue to just blab and say the same things over and over again.
It's always a treat to watch you work, Hunter.
Yeah, it's a treat to watch me work too, sweetheart. Thank you. I appreciate you. I don't know if the audience is going to share that sentiment, but you know what? We'll see. There's a trap right there. All right, chicken, come here. You are now a demonstration. And you've been paralyzed. Awesome. All right, I'll keep talking while this chicken writhes in pain because the goats paralyzed him. I kind of like those goats, actually. They're pretty sick. Alrighty. And the Rathalos is back. Everybody wants to be in this video. Yeah, so there's a free interruption right there. Into a knockdown. See if I can feed another one. There's another knockdown right there. Yeah, so that's kind of the big issue. And then I made another one on the tail. So with the ease of making wounds and the ease of the flinching of making wounds, that's probably the #1 issue. I'm not even, like, particularly good at this game. And even I can just get that chain knocked down pretty easy. I disconnected from the same server like 17 times. How out of this game can I be? The internet's so bad that I disconnected from the same server without ever reconnecting to it. Yeah, so there's a free knockdown right there. Doesn't help that the monsters in this game are particularly easy to flinch sometimes. Still takes a little bit of precision, though. Something like a bow can basically just seal up wounds basically for free because of that targeting attack. They really liked bow when they were making this game. You off. This isn't about you. Work with amateurs. This is why you don't work with animals. This is why Hollywood just uses CGI now. Unprofessionals, the goddamn lot of you. Oh, is that it? Is that all you wanted to do? Yeah, is that your 15 minutes of fame? Yeah, you're lucky you're good in this game. Alright? Pissing me off. Where the hell do you think you're going? I'm demonstrating with you. There's my other actor's dead corpse. If I can get a good angle, we can go for an interruption. I didn't even really get that one. That one just kind of missed. So I kind of get why things are the way they are with the closers. Clearly what they want to do is they actually want the attack to make impact. So if you connect with the initial wound closer, it locks the monster down so that you can properly pull off the attack. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But with how powerful the closers are, there's a really good chance that after that first initial hit, you're going to be getting another knockdown or another flinch. And this is especially dangerous in multiplayer, because what you can do is basically get a free attack cancel. Get that stagger. Then your buddies get to attack from that stagger. Open up another wound and go for the knockdown. It is very, very easy to capitalize this kind of thing. So see, I get that knockdown right there. I didn't even have to get the full thing. That was just a knock completely. So yeah, the mentality is they want to lock the animation so that you can actually get the wound closer attack. To do that, they usually have to flinch the monster off the wound closer. So it's kind of like for the immersion's sake. The issue that you run into there is that you basically have a free attack animation cancel. And then the wound closer itself is very powerful, and monsters tend to flinch kind of easy in this game. So then you run the issue of you're kind of dealing with one singular attack that's going to chain flinch. And then if you're dealing with this in multiplayer, yeah, you're going to be locked in the animation, and the monster's going to be locked in the animation. The other guys you're hunting with are not locked into that animation. So you're probably going to be able to get a chain flinch or a chain flinch into a knockdown. And the other guys who are with you are going to keep on hitting. When we were doing the... one of the Guardian monsters, I think it was Fulgur. we were doing this thing in the vine section on this map where we were chain wound closing into the vine trap. So he would go from a knockdown into a flinch, into the vines, into the knockdown, into the flinch, into the vines, over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So I think multiplayer exasperates this issue even further. Alright, we got another actor dead. I'm gonna need another actor. There he is. Alright, you want to be in the video? Come here. You're probably getting your own video, but you can still be in the video. Get... Another bird's panicking. What do you... What do you want? You're just making problems for me, aren't you? You're lucky you're one of my favorites. And now we're doing this. You know what? Yeah, you brought that entirely on yourself. Don't yell at me. Terrible lance to be fighting this guy with, but whatever.
Now engaging with the target.
So the big guy here learned a lot of lessons from his Rise incarnation with a lot of those flying follow-ups and moving and repositioning. And that just works super well for the focus mode and all of that, as far as I'm concerned. Oh, no. Oh, he got mad. All right. Fine, you can sleep. So you can give stuff like Rathalos a lot more maneuvers, kind of like that. I mean, that wasn't super duper fast or anything, but you could really ramp up the speed where he's doing the strafing flyby fireballs. They give him a lot of like floatiness and redirectioning in his flight anyway. Again, not like he never had anything like that. It's just a little bit more. He even takes off at slightly different angles and moves around at slightly different angles when he's... Yeah, so this is why the Rise Rathalos was really, really good. A lot of movement, a lot of repositioning, a lot of trying to get behind you, a lot of trying to get at your flank. It's why that one's was originally my favorite version. This is definitely taken over as my favorite version of Rathalos for sure. He's not even like that particularly slow. Some of the monsters are a little bit chunky, but some of his repositioning is pretty damn quick. And again, I think that that's something that the focus mode does exceptionally well, is he can dart off to the side, and then dart off to the other side, and then get behind me, get around me, get at my flank, hook from one shot, fireball from another angle. Like those takeoffs from the side, I don't even know if he does that in like World or anything like that. He'll just immediately try to go at your flank. And I love what focus mode allows for, that I can just kind of keep pace with them, keep the movement with them. I think it's a really, really good evolution on letting the monsters dance, I think is the main point that I'm trying to make and illustrate. And Rathalos, I'm actually particularly glad spawned so that I can kind of demonstrate with him, because I think it is a big, big, big plus about his moveset in this game. Especially the flying. The flying feels really hazardous, super dangerous. He feels smart. I'm going to be repeating a lot of this because I do want to talk about him specifically. And I think that's really good for a flying monster, especially, because they should be able to use this third dimension to their advantage, be able to get around you. They have a level of maneuverability and speed that you just can't fathom because you're on the ground. Again, it's not bullshit. You can absolutely keep pace with them, but it's tough. It's just difficult. Go for this. Yes, I know I've disconnected from the server. I've disconnected from the same server 17,000 times. I couldn't be more disconnected from the server, Capcom. Alright, so let's try and just turn the focus mode off. After he goes into a shock trap. Over here. Why didn't that explode? Nothing is working the way I want it to. Alright, let me get you away from the flash flies because I don't want to... Why is there two things of flash flies in here? Alright, so he goes around, smacks me in the... Comes back around like that. Yeah, gets behind me pretty good there. Try and keep the focus off. Go for the claws. No, the claws. Dumb amateur. Oh, and now you're tired? What, did you get exhausted not doing what I asked you for? Is that what you're tired from? At the very least, you could get tired being productive, alright? Oh, what did that make you mad? Yeah, try it. Try it. Yeah, you can't, can you? You wore yourself out being a problem. I'm not even using a good lance for this fight. There you go. You get the in and out. Come back in. Dive for that. Comes around behind me. Falls over like a moron. You didn't even get the stagger that time, you idiot. Swoops in with the claws, gets behind you, goes for the claws again off to the side. It's the angle changes. That's what I really like about this system. Which is why I'm hoping that they don't get rid of it, because I think they did a really neat job compensating for the fact that we have this snappy kind of camera work. How are you limping? Prima donna piece of garbage. I'm leaving all of this in. Don't look at me like that. What, this is your nest? This is where you came running to? This is the sidewalk. Yeah, real great survival instincts, dip. What, are you not gonna get hunted on the side of the road near a tree? Yeah, that overhang makes you really, really defensive from this 180-degree angle. Oh my fuck, you're dying. Hang on. Yeah, I get mad about it. See if I care. This is just turning into an entertainment. I'm not even talking about focus mode anymore. I'm just yelling at the Rathalos. I hope this is entertaining. This will be funny to watch how this video evolves, where it goes from me actually trying to do commentary to me just yelling at dragons. Alright, that one was my fault. I can even get him out of the sky with that flinch. That was just a full knockdown out of the air, basically for free. So the issue kind of becomes, what do we actually do about the wounds to make it so this isn't an issue? The easiest fix might be to make wounds a lot more difficult to get and just hike up their build-up substantially. Because the other issue that kind of runs into it is that weakness exploit kind of got clutch claw weakness exploited again, where you can't get the full effect of weakness exploit unless you are... Oh, I thought he was leaving. You don't get the full ability of weakness exploit, which is the 50% affinity bonus, unless you're attacking a weak point. But unlike with the clutch claw, closing the weak points has a lot of utility in the fact that they are basically free attack interrupters. And they are almost guaranteed knockdowns. So yeah, you can use weakness exploit to get some extra crit chance, or you can go for the major knockdown, very, very high knockdown chance that going for the wound closer is going to give you. Which makes weakness exploit a much less invalid skill. Or makes it a much more invalid skill than it normally is. It's typically very good. Weakness exploit kind of keeps getting shafted by these mechanics. I feel like what might happen is that we might see the build-up for the wounds get increased. I think it would even stand as a benefit if it is a pretty lofty hike. Maybe somewhere in the realm of like 100% to 150%, so somewhere in the neighborhood of a 2 to 3 times increase in how long it takes for it to get built up. Just so that these chain flinches and knockdowns don't happen over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Because that is a big thing that's kind of killing monsters in this game, is that you can attack, interrupt, knockdown. Off of that knockdown, you get to build up another wound. Then that wound's there, the monster gets back up, goes for an attack animation, knocks it down. It's definitely more difficult than I'm making it sound. You know, I'm trying to do live commentary while I'm talking over things, and it's not easy, per se. Like, I'm definitely screwing things up. This is meant to be imperfection. This is meant to be imperfect. But if someone's really good or running bow, which basically just has a free wound closer lock on for very, very, very minimal effort, it's why bow was absolutely obliterating Argveld in the beta. I'm not too sure how good it is on a meta level in the full game, but bow seems like it is particularly strong just because of the properties of how wounds work. So they're definitely not going to just take the focus attack wound closers out of the game. That's just not happening. They're a major part of this game. They're not going to edit moves out of the kits. And they're also not going to change it so that the wound closers don't have the guaranteed wound closer. Like, that is the function of the move. But the issue is that there's just so much utility behind it that it makes it ill-advised to not just go for the wound close. That's nice. Yeah, it's a pretty nice little demonstration right there of just chain flinching off of wound closures. Again, not even really trying particularly hard. Not a particularly good build. To be fair, Kongawala is not the strongest monster in the game. But even without that much effort, I don't think it would be bad if they made it so that the wounds are a little bit more rare, they're a bit more scarce, they're more valuable, and you know what, if that's the case, if they're more rare, if they're more scarce, if they're more valuable, well then you have a little bit more choice in what you want to do with them, because they're going to be less and less of a resource that you can just abuse, unless you're running Flare, I believe, is the skill that makes it easier for you to open them up, which I think that a lot of people are just going to start running Flare, even more so than they already do. But if you're not running Flare, to make the wounds easier to open, and they're a little bit more rare, they're a little bit more special, you want to kind of keep them around, well, one that gives weakness exploit more of a reason to exist. And two, those moveset interruptions are much more valuable because you're going to have less of them. So if you're going to be able to make it so that you can chain knock down the monsters, it might benefit the game if it treats that kind of ability with the respect and with the power that it deserves. So if, say, they bump the speed for opening up wounds down by like 200% maybe, made it 4 times as long to open up a wound. Make it so that there is no way in hell that you're going to be able to open up every single wound on a monster. Excuse me. Live recording, everybody. There's going to be no way in hell that you're going to open up every single wound on a monster unless you're running Flare, whatever the name of the skill is that lets you open up wounds faster. That's the only way you're going to get it. That they nerf wounds that much. That, I think, makes them a little bit more special, makes weakness exploit a little bit more viable. Because it's not like you're just gonna be able to throw out another wound closer. Like, right now, I have 2 ready to go. Interrupt that animation, knock him down. And I got another one ready. I can knock him out of that. Go for that. Flinch him with the tail break. Yeah, I think it might benefit the game if the game understands how powerful this ability is. Because we're not in a position where they're gonna take it out. It's too locked in. It's too fundamental with the wound closers. And the wound closers lock the monster down because it needs to lock the monster down so that the animation can be performed naturally. If they wanted, what they could do is take out the free flinch off of the opening. That's gonna make it so that even if you can kind of lock in the initial hit on the wound, it's still gonna be pretty common, as I've demonstrated with how much movement the monsters have in this game, that you're gonna get to a point where... Where are you going? Are you gonna lie down here? Where do you think that... What shelter do you troglodytes think that you're getting in this area? Whatever happened to nests? Whatever happened to them? Where do you think you are right now? There's like a good 300 degrees of you that something could approach from. This is like in the Shrine Ruins, where half the monsters, if they wanted to sleep, just sat down in the middle of the road. Shrine Ruins should be renamed to New York City for how many monsters just slept in the middle of a street. And there's another Rathalos paralyzed somewhere. Alright, cool. He's not bothering me. I think I've got across what I wanted to get across, though. So, yeah. The long and the short of it is, I really like what focus mode allows for in the kits. And it's a big reason why I'm hoping they don't just trash the system and move on to a completely different gimmick. I get why it's there for newer players. It's to kind of help them keep pace and keep track and move around and follow the monster movements. But unlike with the wire bugs, I feel like they did a pretty good job of understanding how that camera focus compensates for player speed, so that they took a lot of the monster kits, they reworked the kits, or they purposefully crafted those kits so that there is a lot of repositioning, there is a lot of cross-up, there is a lot of movement, there's a lot of hectic angles. I think Rathalos was a really good representation of this, fighting him and looking for the claw attacks. If you're not running focus mode, yeah, you can still keep track and keep pace and everything, but the monsters are fast. It is a little bit of an effort to really kind of keep pace with some of the stuff that he can do. And I'm assuming that in the expansion, it's going to be even more so. And focus mode makes me particularly excited for the combos and the movement and the repositioning and just the hectic stuff that the monsters are going to be able to do once they kind of go back into those kits, reevaluate them, and bump them up. I'm really hoping we get some Sunbreak level reworkings of combo structures and whatnot for basically monsters across the entire board, because Sunbreak has barely any bad fights because of just how fast some of those monsters are, and I think focus mode will lend itself to that incredibly well. The issue is going to come down to the meta level play of the wounds, how the wounds work, and how closing them works. How easy it is to close them, how locked in you can get when you're trying to close them, how your other teammates are going to be able to capitalize on the fact that you're trying to close them. It's a lot of build up there. The other thing is, I don't want them to just kind of trash wounds altogether either. I think it's a really fun system that is a natural evolution of the Clutch Claw. I think opening up those wounds just through gradual battle damage makes a lot of sense. It scars up the monster in a way that is much more interesting and a lot more naturalistic than it is with the Clutch Claw and how tenderizing worked. I feel like it's very immersive because you look at Kongalala here, all kind of maimed over and dead. He's got his claws ripped up. He's got his faces mangled. You got these big scar patches all over his ass. You see scars all over his arms and whatnot, and it kind of leaves these visual indications of the battle even more so than your general part breaks do, which you can see with the claws being lopped off and his little hair dome thing being broken up and all that kind of stuff. So it's some nice little bit of storytelling for how the battle went. So I really, really like both of these systems on face value. If they bring focus back, if they bring wounds back, I think the focus mode attacks probably need to go. There's really only two things I think they can do. They can get rid of the lockdown so that the animation is trickier to pull off, but it doesn't just completely and utterly invalidate monster movesets and chain lock them into oblivion. Or they need to, I think, fairly drastically, to around 150 to 200%, increase how much time it takes for the wounds to build up to make the wounds more special, that you need to either choose whether or not you want to go for that wound closure or go for the bonus damage off of weakness exploit, stuff like that. I feel like people are still going to be fishing for those closers, but at least the chain flinching will diminish substantially. But yeah, I think that's the number one issue. I feel like you bring focus mode back, you bring the wounds back, but you drop the focus mode attacks.
Check your map when you're ready.
Sweetness, I am trying to speak. Thank you. You're being helpful. I recognize you're being helpful. I'm trying to talk, all right? And yeah, I think I got my point across. So that's kind of how I'm feeling about focus mode, how it might be improved, how I would like to see it brought back, the fact that I want it to be brought back, and some stuff that I feel like some people just kind of aren't talking about and what it does for the monsters themselves, and how I think the developers did a pretty good job compensating for this new tool. And the tool on face value I don't find to be particularly busted. I find it to be really good and makes for a very, very natural dance, while at the same time it is not absolutely mandatory. I feel like I showed off pretty well that even against some of the attacks that have a lot of movement to them, you can still keep pace. It's just difficult. So I think this really allows for the dance to be very, very fun, very hectic, very aggressive, very fast on both party ends. It is just, it's interactions with the certain mechanics that I think kind of dull the experience with it and can trivialize some of the monsters into the ground. And I think there's ways to fix that without trashing the whole mechanic, because I like it as a whole, as it is generally presented, and as I believe the developers want to interact with it. So yeah, I hope you found that this video was somewhat insightful and mildly entertaining.
A tempered monster. Look at the size of that scar.
And I think we're going to wrap up. So let me know if you like this format at all. It might be something I do when I really need to get something done and get something out. But there's some projects that are just kind of going pretty long and all that stuff. So this kind of free-flowing, impromptu, live recording commentary type of thing, I might want to do more of it. I think this was kind of fun. And I get to go off script and yell at the monsters a little bit. So let me know.
Anything a monster leaves behind.
Sweetheart. Thank you. Thank you. This has been CR-Volcanic or Connor. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Shout out to all the patrons, and special shout out to Stromlin, Skyryu, Sir Newt Newt, Shaggy Grizzly, Sam Richley, Psychotic Gesture, P-Berry, Nihilist Kymrax, Ketz, Datboy Doin Da Ding, Certified Rajang Hater, Sir SS Jacob, Pecco Plush, I Think I Stole Your Sandwich, and Call Sign Shadow. Thank you very much, everyone.